Generally speaking, laws are created to maintain order and to keep us all safe. But bureaucracy and silliness often derail even the best intentions, and the resulting regulations don't always quite make sense. Stretching back centuries, many of these laws are seriously outdated and are rarely, if ever, enforced, but they're still good for a laugh. So, today we're throwing the book at the weirdest laws in small-town America. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. After that, leave a comment and let us know what other legal topics you would like to hear about. Okay, hear ye, hear ye. The Court of Weird History is now in session. The city of Greene, New York, allegedly had a law specifically banning eating peanuts while walking backward, but only during concerts. Little evidence exists to put this law into any context, but if you allow us to wildly speculate, someone choked on a peanut while moonwalking at a Michael Jackson concert, and lawmakers had to stick it to the smooth criminal. The laws of San Francisco, California state that you can't store your belongings in a garage, even if it's your own garage. In fact, Chapter 6 of the Housing Code apparently declares public or private garages cannot be used to store any items other than an automobile. It sounds like a joke, but breaking this law can get you a fine up to $500. Why? Best we could figure, big storage unit must have a lot of sway in the city by the bay. Beauty is only skin deep, or coat deep if you're a horse. But in Middleburg, Washington, equine appearances are important, as it's illegal to ride an ugly horse. It's unclear why the law exists, and the legislation doesn't specify who gets to rate the overall hotness of each horse. But if you violate this ordinance, you face a fine of $300. So when it comes to ugly horses, just say nay. Topeka, Kansas has rules preventing people in haunted houses from screaming or creating any disturbances, ensuring that they are orderly at all times. Violating this law can result in a disorderly conduct charge, a Class C misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 month in prison or $500 maximum in fines. So if a spirit returns from the afterlife and terrifies you to the depth of your soul, you may flail your arms, but keep the noise down. When you think of mustaches, you think of Tom Selleck, Burt Reynolds, and Salvador Dali, but not Eureka, Nevada. Why? Because it's not a mustache town. In fact, they have a law making it illegal for a man with a mustache to kiss a woman. Rumor has it, in the late 19th century, someone in the town had problems with the smooches of mustachioed men and had the ordinance passed. We're guessing some suave, smooth talker with a big old walrus stash made too many ladies swoon, and local lawmakers vowed, never again. Everyone hates it when people mispronounce their name, but the people of Joliet, Illinois, really hate it, so they criminalized mispronouncing the town's name. If you butcher the town's moniker by calling it Joliet, you could be charged with a misdemeanor and hit with a $5 fine. And then you'd have to move to Chicago. Wait, is that how you pronounce it? Several communities in California have a law on the books saying dogs cannot mate within 500 feet of a church. If someone catches dogs in flagrante delicto near a house of worship, the dog's owners face a fine of up to $500 and 6 months in jail. Cats, on the other hand, cannot be governed by man or God. Sorry, churches. Enjoy the view. Belhaven, North Carolina sought to add a service charge for residents using the town's water supply. To that end, they started including a surcharge, itemized as $2 per month, per stool. This unusual wording led to confusion, and everyone thought they were going to have to get on some kind of crazy corporate payment plan every time they needed to do their business. Fortunately, it was just a misunderstanding, and they've since updated the description to $2 per toilet. Oh, we get it. $2 for number 2. Well done, Belhaven. Ever wonder what the Joker might do if he successfully took over Gotham City? It might look like Pocatello, Idaho, which passed a 1948 city ordinance making it illegal not to smile. The story goes that the community had emerged from a harsh winter very depressed. The Orwellian-sounding law was a lighthearted attempt to buoy the townspeople's spirits, and if someone broke it, authorities would issue a tongue-in-cheek arrest. Some men just want to watch the world smile. You may have been through a desert on a horse with no name, but have you ever been through Texarkana, Texas on a horse with no taillights? If so, you might be in trouble. Texarkana has a law stating horses must have functioning taillights when moving through the city at night, or the driver could receive a traffic citation. It's likely a safety issue, but we don't even want to think about where one installs a taillight on a horse. This one wouldn't be a big deal unless you happen to be Babar on a bender. But Natchez, Mississippi has a law specifically prohibiting intoxicated elephants on the city streets. According to legend, in 1810, a local man hosted a live elephant show on his property. And to ensure the elephants gave a rip-roaring performance, he gave them beer. The result? Drunken elephants in the street, and one of the most weirdly specific laws in the nation. Bumper stickers often ask us to honk if you love Aerosmith. But if it's after 9 p.m. and you're near a sandwich shop in Little Rock, you might want to think twice. No one remembers why, but a local regulation holds that no person shall sound the horn on a vehicle at any place where cold drinks or sandwiches are served after 9 p.m. Violation of the law, which oddly doesn't apply at businesses selling any other type of food, can result in a fine of $1,000, which can double each time for repeat offenders, like a multi-layered club sandwich. In the mid-1890s, a former resident of Grand Haven visited the city and wrote a letter to the local newspaper bemoaning the hoops, skirts, and other rubbish littering the streets. The city passed an ordinance prohibiting such hoop-skirt lawlessness. The penalty for breaking it was $5, which, adjusted for inflation, is about $130 today. The other rubbish mentioned in the letter was apparently fine. Imagine a paradise where it was literally illegal for creepy men to catcall on the sidewalk. Well, in New York City, paradise on earth, all public flirtation by men is technically illegal. The law states a man can't look at a woman on city streets in that way. Some believe the ordinance, which does not apply to women looking at men, dates back to a time when looking at women in that way was a euphemism for soliciting sex workers. Whatever the origin, creepy men should start carrying cash, because the fine is $25 a pop. Many people celebrated when weed became legal in Colorado, but not all weeds are legal. In the town of Pueblo, for example, you can't have dandelions in your yard that are more than 10 inches high. If your dandelions are too tall, the city will hit you with a $300 fine, plus fees for removing the weeds. Like, way to harsh the vibe, man. There's an old Disney song that recommends whistling while you work, but we cannot recommend it in Waterbury, Connecticut. If you're caught whistling loudly in Waterbury, police can ticket you, although the fine depends on limits set by City Council each fiscal year. Lawmakers passed the ordinance in the interest of avoiding public disturbances and maintaining a peaceful atmosphere, which is just politician speak for we really hate whistling. In Galesburg, Illinois, they like bike riding just fine. Just not that fancy bike riding those elites in them big cities do. That's right, Galesburg has a law barring any fancy bike riding. What does Galesburg consider fancy? Any act involving taking both hands off the handlebars or both feet off the pedals. Kids aged 16 and younger will receive a $1 fine for breaking this law, while older perpetrators face $30 to $100. The Second Amendment gives Americans the right to bear arms, but they can still wear long sleeves if they choose. See what we did there? In 2013, the tiny town of Nucla, Colorado, took that right to a whole other level, becoming the state's first city to require the arming of all citizens. That being said, the ordinance is largely a symbolic one. You won't face random gun searches or incur any penalties for not packing heat. Charleston, South Carolina is a wonderful place to own a home, except for the fact that the city's fire department has every right to blow it up. Okay, that sounds scary, but as usual, context is important. If your house is already on fire and the fire department determines the only way to control the blaze is to blast it apart with TNT, then and only then will they bombs away. Professional firefighters call it the Wile E. Coyote Gambit, or they should, if they don't already. Everyone loves silly string for 5 minutes on Halloween. After that, it's just annoying and messy. Southington, Connecticut even went as far as to legally prohibit the spraying of silly string in public spaces. Reportedly, in the mid-1990s, silly string was wreaking havoc community-wide, staining clothes, vandalizing cars, and almost causing a motorcycle accident between 2 police officers. The penalty for breaking this law is a $99 fine. Nothing silly about that. We've all experienced this. You put your money into the vending machine and it doesn't dispense your item. So you start smacking it around, trying to jar something loose. But while that violence may be sensible, it is against the law in Derby, Kansas. The city passed an ordinance saying you cannot legally hit a vending machine for any reason. If you do, you could receive a Class A misdemeanor, meaning up to a year in jail and up to $2,500 in fines. Was that Snickers really worth it? If you live in Canton, Ohio, and own a pet tiger, panda bear, or any other exotic animal not indigenous to the state, the law says you need to keep an eye on it at all times. And should your pet escape, you have just 1 hour to alert the police. If you wait longer than that, you may earn a first-degree misdemeanor, punishable by a maximum of 180 days in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. On second thought, that law does make a lot of sense. So to all you Tony Montanas out there, be sure to leash your tigers. So what do you think? Which of these laws is the weirdest? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.